1 measly point from 9. 0 goals scored.
It's an absolute disgrace.
0 points gained from their opening 3. Aston Villa in a bad place, Dan Bardell. But the window's shut. PSR can be no more, so you can't blame that. No one can move. And you know who you've got. You made some signings. You've got Harvey Elliott through the door. You've got Iceman Victor Lindelof, bags of Premier League experience. Jadon Sancho, wonder kid out of Dortmund, who's had a little bit of a stumble here in England, but you're ready to revive his career. And things are looking up.
Who's put this package together? I feel like I'm in a Western movie. I don't know. I feel like I'm in Red Dead Redemption. I'm not sure what it is.
You're watching Aston Villa, mate.
Wow. Yeah.
And you're below Man United in the table.
Are we? Well, yeah, we would be, I suppose, because you got your one win, didn't you, against Burnley that you were gifted. I feel all right. Like, I think the international break was a good thing for Villa. I've never been more delighted in my life for a transfer window to shut. Not enjoyed this transfer window for 1 second this summer. Obviously, there's, the players are going to come back and there's going to be some things to work out. I think in fact, the 3 new players that we signed on deadline day haven't had international duty, so they've worked with Emery during this time, which will undoubtedly be a positive thing for them, because obviously there's a lot to understand about how Unai works. It will be different to other managers that they've worked under previously in terms of the footage that they'll have to watch and the meetings along at Villa. But the big thing will be, how does it all work with Emiliano Martinez coming back into the fold? I guess that's the one thing that's really up in the air at the moment still, even though the window has shut.
It is so ironic that it is my team that unsettled him. And
he unsettled himself. He never even made a bid.
Like, out of all the teams, Dan, does it annoy you that it was my team that did that, or it's just the fact that he's your number 1 goalkeeper and you want him to stay and this has happened?
I'm not really bothered that it was you, in all honesty. All you did at the end of the day was have a conversation with Villa about whether we'd be prepared to loan out one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and I think you were probably told where to go quite quickly. Sounds like Amorim's been on a different page to the Manchester United board in the discussions that he's had with Emiliano Martinez. Feels like he's been strung on a little bit this summer, Emiliano Martinez, by Manchester United. Ultimately, he sounds like he's almost chained himself to the training ground on the last day of the transfer window, believing this move was going to happen, when realistically it was never going to happen, because for a move to happen, a bid has to be made. So he's here.
Does he come straight back in for you?
I think he has to.
Immediately?
Yeah, he's
all put to bed. Listen, we haven't won a game.
Well,
we need to keep clean sheets. Just get him in and let's work from here.
Look, I mean, even if Emiliano Martinez had been in goal for all 3 of Villa's games, we still wouldn't have scored a goal, so it wouldn't have made that much difference, because you aren't going to win a game of football unless you put the ball in the back of the net. But there's been a cloud hanging over the club these first 3 games of the season, with the transfer window being open, and I think the situation with Martinez, coupled with Ramsey, who was a big part of the dressing room, leaving, not really wanting to leave. I think the dressing room hasn't been a happy place at the start of the season. You're playing games under the backdrop of complete uncertainty, and when that's going on off the pitch, it's going to filter into what happens on the pitch. So it does feel like now this first game back against Everton is the season starting. But realistically, 3 games have gone already, and that isn't going to be a walk in the park going there, because I expect them to be really good at home this season.
After the next 2 games.
Luckily, I think Wolves will probably still be bottom, but we might well be down there with them. But Villa fans have got to be guided by Emery now. I'm sure how he reacts to Martinez and what he says in public will be different to how he feels in private.
What do you think he'll do? Do you think he'll just listen publicly? Emmy is back.
He'll draw a line under it.
He's a top goalkeeper.
Yeah,
and that's what he's got to do, right? Because you've all got to kind of move on. But it is difficult from fans' perspective, because he signed a new deal not long ago. I remember when he signed that
a year
deal.
ago.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought, like, that looks good for Villa. Top goalkeeper is committing his future there. And now there's been a spanner in the works, and it's kind of has it fractured the relationship with the fans, or?
Yeah, definitely. He won't be looked at the same as he was 12 months ago. I think that's sometimes what makes it worse for players, when it's a player that the fans universally love, that they've given a lot of time to and a lot of love to. Like, Emiliano Martinez has obviously been brilliant for Villa.
And he's loved the club back as well.
Yeah. And that's the thing. He said stuff that makes you think, this guy genuinely loves the club. He's one of us. And then you kind of feel like he gets a sniff of leaving.
And you remember it's just a job.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of sympathy for him, because I do think there's an element of Villa players kind of being told in the summer that, look, we're in a bit of a difficult situation here, and it's happened with Jacob Ramsey.
Exactly.
If someone comes in for you, well, we probably need to look at it and let you go because the rules are really hamstringing us, and we need to get some money in and get some wages off the books. So I have a little bit of sympathy for Emi Martinez. So when you're missing games, you're missing training sessions, whichever way it's happened, whether that's his call or Emery's call, it's not a great look, and he's got to come back and try and reintegrate now. Tyrone Mings said some stuff after the Crystal Palace game, which probably pointed to the fact that maybe he's been a little bit disruptive and it hasn't helped the dressing room. But he's a unique character, and we have, as Villa fans have loved him for that. He's just got to make sure he comes back in now and displays the right attitude and does the right things. I don't think he's not going to come out and apologise or explain himself. I don't think that's something that's going to happen. But he's got to get his head down and get himself back to the form that he's shown for Villa probably pre-last season, because he wasn't great last season. Because as much as he's been brilliant for Villa have elevated him as well. He wasn't playing for his country until he came to Villa. He wouldn't have won the World Cup unless he'd gone to Villa and established himself as a Premier League number one. So as much as he's been brilliant, we've given him the platform, and he still owes us to an extent as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Out of the new faces then that have turned up, who are you looking forward to seeing the most? Is it Lindelof at the back being nice and composed and calm? Is it Jadon Sancho's brilliance? Or is it Harvey Elliott? Or is it Evan Gasson?
I mean, I sensed some sarcasm from you in the first two options that you've given me there, Flex.
Mate, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just going through who you signed.
I did a live event last night and asked for a show of hands in the room of, do you think that Villa signing Harvey Elliott kind of saved our transfer window? And almost everyone put their hands up, because as much as I hope Sancho and Lindelof are brilliant, we know those players were available all summer. When you bring them in on the last day, it does feel a little bit like panic stations, doesn't it? Like shopping around the bargain bin.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But I've got hopes that Lindelof won't play every week, and I've got hopes that Emery, working with Sancho, if he displays the right attitude and mentality, he'll get something out of him. Gasson's raw from what I've seen so far, but Villa have tracked him for a while, and he's a player that the club have been looking at for a while, and they wanted him in, so we'll give him a little bit of time to acclimatise to the Premier League. Harvey Elliott's the oven-ready player, isn't he? He's got to be ready to go on Saturday against Everton, coming off the back of an unbelievable summer with the England under-21s, comes across as a really good character and a nice guy, has got a winning mentality. People forget that guy played pretty much every time he was fit under Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp really, really liked him, and okay, he didn't play every week under Slot last season, but he's still experienced winning, and he's got a lot of experience for someone who's 22 years of age. And when you're coming into a team that hasn't even looked like they're going to score for 3 games, you've got to hope as a Villa fan that his creativity and his energy is going to add something. Yeah, and I think he's a player who's really ready to take that step, to make that step up, to be... I'm not saying that... He's got to be the man. He wants to be the man, doesn't he?
Exactly, to step up in terms of squad role, to say, like you said, he's the main guy. And he deserves that. He's been sort of quietly working, patiently working. I know how much he loves Liverpool and his family loves Liverpool. But he's taken that moment now, and now's the right time. He's completely smashed it under 21 level. At senior level for club and country now, he really wants to kick on. So I actually agree with you. I think that's going to be a really good move. When you look at your squad, that was sort of invested in January to try and get you over the line for the Champions League, and it looked quite positive versus now. How do you think the squad is versus then? Worse?
Yeah. Look, if I'm being completely honest, it's not as strong as it was. I'm encouraged because at the very least now, at least numbers-wise, it's at the same level that it was at last season. It's probably a little bit less balanced and probably got less quality than we had going into the back end of last season when we were fighting on multiple fronts. That defeat to your mob at Old Trafford was a real sliding doors moment. Like, to not be able to go there and pick up a result, I think there's actually been a little bit of a hangover into the new season off the back of that. I think we'd have probably still had a slightly difficult summer, but it would have been nowhere near the levels that it's been at this summer. Qualifying for the Champions League 2 years in a row would have been massive for a club that's where we are, and realistically, that's what you need to compete. You've got to be constantly in the Champions League because of the revenue and the kind of gravitas that brings your football club. Look at the players that we bought in January: Rashford, Asensio, and we'd have qualified for the Champions League.
Asensio,
Marlon as well. Still can't get a game. Feel sorry for him. God knows what's going on there. He started our last game as well, but it's one of them games where nobody plays well and nobody comes out of that game with any credit in the bank at all. So that's unfortunate, and he'll probably find himself back on the bench now that we've signed these new players. I feel sorry for Marlon, but it's no doubting that the landscape would have been very different had we qualified for the Champions League. But we're in the Europa League.
Good chance.
I don't buy into the or would you take 17th and winning a trophy? That's not how football works. But there's no doubt that Villa can kill two birds with one stone if they win that Europa League, because we haven't won anything since 1996. I'm depressed about being about to turn 40. But I haven't won anything since I'm 10. It probably eats into my the way I'm feeling a little bit as I'm about to turn 40.
Since you was 10, do you remember it?
Yeah, I remember it, but it was a long time ago, mate. Cool. Yeah, it was a long time ago. That I felt like Villa would win trophies every few years because that was what happened. We won the cup in 94 and 96, so I just thought that was normal, and it hasn't been. But if you win that trophy, no matter what you've done in the league, and I still think Villa will be around the top 7. I don't think there's going to be any massive fall off here. You've got that trophy monkey off your back, and you're back in the Champions League. Like, that is so big. It's such a realistic chance of doing it. Yeah. You've got more chance of winning the Europa League than you have finishing top 5 at the moment, because I think top 4 is we all know who the top 4 are going to be. Tottenham are going to be stronger. I don't. Is there any Newcastle? Will be obviously be around there again. There's one space for like 3 or 4 teams. Here he is with the Aston Villa section, and he's managed to drag his team into a top 5 conversation somehow.
Dan, it's not just an Aston Villa section. You started talking
clearly says in the running order Aston Villa.
Yes, but during the section you just started talking about and opening the conversation up.
And I didn't
broadcast about top 6 and top
and I
7,
didn't mention your team for very good reason.
Well, it's the team that's above you and actually has scored some goals this season.
Mostly other players from other teams have scored your goals. We could do with own goal chipping in with a couple for us, to be honest.
Maybe you should put the other team under pressure so they're so scared they put it in the back of their own net like we do.
Everyone was complaining about England winning 2-0. I was just pleased to see some goals at Villa Park, to be honest.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.